What is the most ridiculous thing the company you work for has wasted money on? I'm in the army, so the list would be endless. For the past 3 years a certain craft store has sent me all over Georgia and Florida to fluff the display Christmas trees, taking every branch and spreading them out. They pay for my gas, food and hotel stay. I want to tell someone how much money they'd save just by having each store do it, but they gave me $600 on top of my hourly 1 year. New logo, $140,000. We ended up with the same logo but in cursive. Should have talked to me first. I would have done it for $135K. We did a good job, so to celebrate making the target, we were given sweets every day for a week. About 300 people at the office. The following week, there were layoffs. It felt very insensitive. My company put in a bunch of swamp coolers. I work at a call center. There's over 1,000 computers. IT lost their minds. Got a new CEO and compensated him $4 million in salary and stock each year, for 3 years. He made an already bad problem even worse, and spent much of his time standardizing email signatures across the organization. Then he was dismissed. There's apparently a whole class of professional executives that know nothing about the industries they are hired to lead, fail miserably, then bounce off to the next high-paying engagement. As other posters have indicated, I will wreck your company for half the money my competition charges. Shop here first. This is quite a common thing in some of the markets I've worked in. The person hops from company to company, mostly doing 6-month stints. Starts on day 1. First 2 months getting to know the ropes of how this company works. Next 2 months settling in. Last 2 months debating with HR as to his exit strategy. We hired some consultants to figure out how to get rid of all the consultants. Well, frick, you win. A device which scrambles an egg inside its shell. I'm self-employed. They spent about $80K on a fireworks display for our company Christmas party. Only employees, no families allowed. That would have worked out to an extra $100 person on our bonus. But no, Christmas was that much merrier because of fireworks. The CEO of my former company had invited selected high net worth clients and employees for dinner at his house. After dinner, we adjourned outside for some fireworks show. One unimpressed customer remarked to me, "So that's where our money went to. It cost $80,000 too." Not my current company but the one before it. Company laid off 50% of its workforce and then the new CEO spent $600,000 on bonuses for his freshly hired executive team and another several $100,000 on designer furniture and carpet for an office he used for 3 months before announcing that they needed something fancier and moved to another building. The company I work for is very top heavy. So many people making 6-figure salaries that just go to meetings to schedule meetings every day. A project that should take 2 months to complete will take 8 months to get started. Meanwhile, they're all getting paid to procrastinate. This to me is the real wasted money. Bro, this is the one I was looking for. I thought it was me, but there are so many meetings. I can't believe that they are all with meaning. I swear sometimes they all just sit and chat. There are a few people here. They make the 6-figure salaries, and no one can tell me what they actually do. The IT company I work for hired a social media marketing consultant to run our Facebook and Twitter accounts. I have no idea what they get paid, but with 3-4 contentless posts a month, whatever they are making is more than enough. $3,400 a month to lease a labeler. It takes 2 minutes to print out day dots and stuff for produce and prepped food. When I found out how much it cost after we've been begging for new hires after constantly working ridiculously long hours, we all decided to boycott the labeler and even fought with our corporate supervisors about it during work hours. They eventually rid us of the labeler and hired a dishwasher and another cook. I won't say the company's name or anything, but never work at Applebee's. The biggest waste I've ever seen is definitely investing tons of money in people without interviewing them properly to make sure they're the right fit for the company. The company I work for has a fantastic graduate program. They hire you straight out of college and start you on a really good wage, then put you through 6-12 months of classroom training, professional mentoring, supervised projects etc. to get your skill set up to a really high level. They must spend €50 plus K per candidate at least, when you consider all the external trainers, facilities, mentors, workshops etc all on top of the candidate's salary. They do all this fantastic work to get the best talent, but they invest almost no money in the interview process. I met my future manager totally by coincidence, told him about my thesis, and I must have sounded like I knew what I was doing because he just gave me this gig. I'm still with the company 2 years later, and like to think I'm contributing, so he lucked out with me, but he might as well have paid a stranger a big bag of cash in the street in the hopes that he'd show up in the office on Monday and do some productive work. Of my class of 25, that's at least $250K invested. Remember, completed the training program and then quit to go to another job, not because the salary benefits etc weren't the best, but because their personalities didn't fit the ethos of the company. I mean, if your company owns a genetically modified food company and invests heavily in grams, you probably shouldn't hire a person who is openly, vehemently opposed to GM food, whose past experience is made up entirely of different organic farming pursuits and who's an in-your-face holistic vegan. My previous boss was too embarrassed to admit she didn't know how to do it by asking one of her employees. So instead she hired in a team of IT tech consultants, 4 of them, to drive out to our office and move a shortcut icon slightly to the right on her desktop. It cost the company $600. I was in Norfolk Naval Yard on temporary assignment and was told I needed steel-toed boots. I called my boss and asked if I pay for it or get reimbursed. He said for me to drive the 2 hours or so back to Fort Lee so he can use a tax-free account at a local business. My boots were $40, saving about $3 in taxes. I was paid $110 for the mileage for the round trip. Hiring me. Yeah, I just sit at my desk, but it looks like I'm working. I do that for probably another hour after lunch, too. I'd say in a given week I probably do about 15 minutes of real, actual work. Government agency. Worked with a data-intensive program with a huge budget, and part of my job was to locate and correct data errors which if left unchecked could lead to serious problems for our field workers. Every morning I'd get to the office to find a hulking stack of paper on my desk, many thousands of sheets that my supervisor had ordered from the government's printing office for delivery by courier. The first page always showed how much it cost the gov to process and print the data, and the cost was often thousands of dollars for a single order. She'd get to work 30 minutes after me, grab the stack and flip straight to a page number she'd written down the day before, rip out that single page and discard the rest of the stack into her trash bin. After being there a few months I started adding up the costs of her daily, sometimes multiple daily, orders in a spreadsheet. I finally showed her how much money she'd been wasting. She was shocked but offensive because she didn't know how else to access the data. So I showed her how to look up the data she wanted in the mainframe computer and print out that single page, costing us almost nothing. I also convinced the admin officer to order recycle bins for everyone in our office, because come the frick on, it was 2010 and they weren't even recycling paper. Man, I was really expecting this took place sometime in the 80s or 90s, but 2010 and still printing unnecessary piles of paper, come on. My overtime. Because they never hired enough people and I was the only one who wouldn't rage quit. Eventually during the busiest season they relied on me to cover most dropped shifts and roles, but once when they blatantly scheduled me to come in and cover 2 dropped shifts one weekend on 2 times I'd received off for something specific, without asking or even notifying me, I said I could do one day not the other. The reply I got was I need you to be there. Thanks. So that's when I finally quit. Leaning on one employee as a strategy is like physically leaning on a person. You literally push them away and stagger when they leave. Endrant. My dad worked for Canada Bread, and they never had enough guys. They'd ask him to work back-to-back shifts and he'd tell them how much it would cost. I just did that a few days ago. I'm tired. I won't do it for less than double and a half. Fine. Whatever. There's no one else. He made a lot of money during his years there. They spent $250K remodeling the lobby and auditorium because the CEO was planning a one-day visit. This was about 6 weeks after a round of forced retirements. I worked for a German company whose parent company spent $1 million on a new slogan, so we have to use it on our business cards and email signatures. Problem was we were in the US and the slogan in English was "New energy emerges from brain." Took me months to convince them to stop. The better translation would be "New energy emerges from the mind." Bam. That'll be $1,000. KTHX. We spent about $400 on cookies from New Zealand. They were meant for clients but we ended up eating most of them ourselves. Actually they were worth every penny but management didn't agree. Dang suits. I don't work there anymore but the Swedish mail service just recently changed name from Posten, the postal service, to PostNord, Mail North to incorporate their cooperation with the Danish postal service and so on. While this makes sense on paper, throwing literally millions of dollars at rebranding comes at a really bad time now when the postal service are making huge down cuts. There is also the fact that the previous postal logo and traditional yellow color may have been one of the strongest and most recognizable brands in Sweden. New color for everything from post boxes to cars is now blue. I haven't heard anyone say it's a good idea, even from management's perspective. Finland did it worse. Posti did a full rebranding to Itella a few years later and now they rebranded back to Posti. A $350 office chair for Ron. Then that mother sucker does a job interview over Skype with a competing firm and tries to take company information with him on USBs when he leaves. Meanwhile, I pay for my own coffee out of pocket when I travel. $350. Frick you, Ron. The boss is a non-dom living in Luxembourg. He bought a castle there and sent an email around the company saying it could be used for staff training. This is a software company and training could be done literally anywhere, but this way he gets to put the castle through the company's accounts instead of his own. I think this qualifies as a first world problem. Off-site training in a castle. We have meetings at MetLife Stadium, Meadowlands, at least 3 times a year when a regular hotel conference room would suffice. So flashy and pointless. Makes sense if you work for MetLife. Palm trees. I once worked for a company whose owner decided he wanted to bring palm trees to put on our roof in Newfoundland. Yes, that's the North Atlantic Ocean. It took him 2 years and a huge customs battle to get them here just to watch them wither and die. My Walmart ordered 18 pallets of toilet seat covers. We used a quarter of a pallet in 8 years. For a year I worked as a laborer for a construction company. They had me and another laborer spend every day of the week for about 2 months spray painting pipes in the ceiling. I'm not complaining due to it being easy work, but the thing no one understood was that we had painters still on site that could have blasted everything that took us months to paint in the matter of a week. To this day don't understand the point. To this day miss the overtime I was getting every day to stand on a scaffold and spray paint. I was the self-proclaimed Bob Ross of the job site. I worked for AOL when they bought Bebo for $850 million. They could have given every employee $200k and still made out better than how they pay away almost $1 billion. A website for almost $1 billion. Glad I don't work there anymore. Corporate culture training. Once every couple of years, the C-level executives decide we need a more dynamic corporate culture. Then they spend a couple $100,000 to hire some corporate consultants, buy everyone a feel-good self-help book, and make us all sit in a day-long meeting. We are told what things make us ineffective as an organization, and are given nice little reference cards with catchy slogans for more effective workplace behavior. We are then forced to use these slogans for about 6 months before the leadership realizes nothing is changing and the higher-ups aren't allocating enough money to support the ongoing initiatives proposed in the first couple of meetings. Once there isn't any money propping the whole shambling mess up, it falls apart and we basically go back to doing what we were doing. Rinse and repeat every 3 or so years. Items with our logo to give away. The mugs are huge but not big enough to be comical, so you just end up with disproportionate coffee. Then there are iPhone 4 cases that no one wants. Very silly business. Renovations of the bathrooms in a factory, Dyson Airblade hand dryers and all, when we've laid off 2,000 people in the past year. They are supposed to save money by eliminating paper towels and heater dryers. They keep splitting middle management roles into more middle management roles. You've been stopped by the bread cat. Like this video too or he'll eat all your bread. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.